Greed. Read a book about it. Want to hear the story? Here it goes. But first, hello, book connectors. Welcome back to the Book Connection. Visitors, should you happen to find the channel, feel free to join us. Won't you? Hello, beautiful book connectors. Welcome back to the Book Connection. I am your host, Blue-Eyed Black Devil, and I just want to wish every mother within the sound of my voice, well, no, I want to say within the sound of my voice, let me just say Happy Mother's Day to each and every one of us. You don't have to be a biological mother. If you are someone who has had a hand or just outright raising someone else's child because you love the children that much or child that much, this goes for you too. Happy Mother's Day, one and all. So now let's get on to greed. Now, Zuri Maxwell is a 30-year-old black lady who lives she lives and grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Her mother passed away when she was 7 years old from cancer, but her father raised her. He owned his own barbershop. They weren't necessarily rich or anything, but her dad did own his own house, as well as, like I said, the barbershop. Now, 10 years ago, Zuri graduated from college with a degree in interior design. Unfortunately, though, she's a bit frustrated because here she is 10 years out of college and she still hasn't found a job where having that type of degree would benefit her. But she does the next best thing. She lands a job at an ad agency, advertising agency. That's what she did. She's worked there now for 3 years. Now, she did have different jobs all throughout the 10 years post-college, but the ad agency is the one where she's lasted the longest. Now, that agency is based on commission. And although she does decent numbers, it just never seems to be enough. The good thing is she doesn't have any children. Now, Zuri's best friend she met in college, her name is Audra. They became fast friends, and 10 years later, they're still best friends. Now, Audra married a medical doctor named Joseph, and together they have a set of paternal twins. Lyle and Liza are the children's names, I think. But as far as Zuri's love life, she doesn't have one right about now. Now, I don't know why or how this happened, but one night, Zuri found herself being the third wheel while Audra and Joseph were on a dinner date. Okay, Audra and Joseph got ready to go get a salad from the salad bar while they were waiting on their meals. This man slowly approaches the table where Zoe, what's her name? Quit calling her that. Zuri. He approaches Zuri, and she is like, he's familiar. Why do I know him? How do I can't place him, but he does look familiar. And that's because he was. This guy, Stepan, went to high school with Zuri. They didn't ever really date or hang out that much because he was like whatever the typical bad boy is. He eventually dropped out of school. But 10 years later, he's a struggling artist. So they just talked once they realized how they know each other. They're just reminiscing and carrying on. Later, though, he moves in with Zuri. Now, he loves painting, sketching, but I believe more so painting. So he just He just wasn't able to get, gigs that would pay so high that Zuri could quit her job and open her own design agency, which is what the goal was for her to be able to quit. But he didn't. He wasn't making that kind of money, and Zuri was all right with that. She understood, you go where your passion is, and if you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you, I know we'll see. We will, this will pass. All right, so like I said, he moved in with her, and they're just going on about business. Whenever Stefan worked, he loved classical music, like Debussy, Mendel, Mozart, Beethoven, all of this, and he's played it so much since he's moved in that Zuri has found herself liking some of it. So, Audra and Joseph, they take vacations. I don't know how often, but it's from where to me, it's like they may go on vacation at least twice a year. And every time they would go, they would offer Stefan and Zuri to go along, but they always have to back out because they don't have enough money to go. And Stefan will be like, I know it's discouraging. I wanted to go too. This is on the last trip. I wanted to go too. But we just don't have the money. So one day when Zuri got her commissions check, she had made or bought home a little over $1,500. Now that was a decent, amount, but because they don't have necessarily a lot of money to keep them afloat, they just put whatever they can in the bank. And so Zuri was like, well, I was just hoping just this one time we could just take $1,000 out and go on the trip. But Stefan was the voice of reason. He was like, well, we only have $3,000 in there. She was like, but I can make that other $1,000 back. But he would not yield. So she was disappointed, but she didn't bother the money. Now, at some point in time, Zuri meets an elderly lady. When I say elderly, I think she may be 60 to 70 years old. When you're 30, you think that is old. But the lady seemed to be very classy. She only dined at like the finest restaurants in Georgia, and she travels abroad quite frequently. And somehow she meets Zuri, and she sets up a meeting for Zuri to come to her house. So Zuri went, and she just noticed that the finest leather, everything was with the deepest and the best of the best materials and fabrics and this, that, and the other. And Zuri was like, you have a lovely home. And she's like, well, thank you. And she's like, I hope to have a house like this one day. Zuri says, well, if you want it and you believe it, you just have to stay true to it. She said, but I wanted you over here because I have this business that I am conducting or trying to start up. She said, I want young black women to mentor, children, boys and girls. And she was like, well, I don't have anyone for you right now, but please keep me on your radar. And so they go back to talking about how beautiful the house is and stuff. And Zuri was like, well, okay, so you have this business. This is why you can live like this. She said, oh, no, ma'am, I've had several businesses down throughout the years. She said, I've always, some Some of them successful, and others not so much. Siri was like, Zuri was like, well, what were some of them? And she was like, I do a little bit of it all, and blah, blah, blah. She was very evasive. But she told Zuri that she believed in her, and as soon as she can get another child, she would be placed as that child's mentor. So, okay, Zuri goes on about living life. On her off days, which normally are Saturday and Sundays, the one guilty pleasure she had, meaning Zuri, is that she used to love to go over to Buckhead, which is an affluent community in Georgia. She would love to go to Starbucks, and she liked to go to the mall where they have all of the high-end designer things, clothes, jewelry, bracelets, Tiffany's, Versace, you name it. And she would daydream. She would leave Stefan there. And that's how she would spend her day. Well, one of these times when she ordered her coffee, this guy, she sees him out the side of one of her eyes. Now, come to find out, he had noticed her doing that like maybe every week or something. So he eventually approaches her, and they make exchange pleasantries and stuff. So finally, he was like, "Can I take you out to dinner?" She's like, "Well, I'm already seeing someone." He was like, "Well, I didn't say I wanted to own you or buy you. I just wanted to take you out to dinner." And he tells her he's there on business and that he would only be there for so many days. Well, the so many days eventually turned into weeks. And she did go to dinner with this man pretty much every single time he asked. And I don't understand that. If I know I'm in a relationship, I know I am married. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. I just feel like if I go out to dinner with another man, my husband would have to be there too. I'm not just going like that. But anyway, she does. And, this is why this book is self-explanatory, because nothing ever good comes out of it. One night he had the audacity to want to take her to dinner at 8 o'clock at night. Now, her father has had a stroke, and she tries to see about him as much as she possibly can. He doesn't want her checking in, her dad doesn't. He was like, "No, you have a life to live, and I do too, blah, blah, blah. You do not have to call me or come check in on me as much as you do." So, with that being said, her excuse to Stefan for coming home so late is because she ran overtime at work. She had to get something straightened out. Then she went to her dad's, and instead of going to her dad, she was out in the finest restaurants, and they are all restaurants she had always wanted to go to, but knew she couldn't afford it. As a matter of fact, she and Stefan, the way they splurged, there was some burger that they loved the restaurant. So they would go get 2 hamburgers, 2 fries, and 1 chocolate milkshake, and they would split it between them. That was the most they could do. So for the most part, Zuri worked, she kept house and she cooked pretty much everything they ate. Well, after that man convinced her to go to dinner that night at 8 o'clock, he was like, "I'm leaving tomorrow to go back to so-and-so because, they're still considering some sort of land or something." He said that's what he did or whatever. So eventually the man did leave. Well, Zuri got stuck. She was in a jam somewhere. I think her car broke down. not sure. So she called Stefan. He couldn't get her. She didn't get him, rather. And so she calls Julian, that's that first man's name, Julian. She calls him, and he was like, well, you're just in luck because my flight was delayed. I won't be leaving until tomorrow. So when we get your car straight, you want to go grab a bite to eat. And he would always take her to each fine dining establishment was better than the last. And she was like, no, ain't no way in the world I will be turning this down. These are places I'd always dreamed of having dinner, but knowing that I would never be able to afford it. So not enough of an excuse to me, but oh well. So when he came and got the car straight and stuff, they go on to dinner. And at the end of the dinner, why did he present this lady with a bracelet from Tiffany's? And she said, oh, stuff, oh, this is too expensive. There is no way I can accept this. He was like, no, you should accept it. And, you're worth it, blah, blah, blah. She's like, how? This is what she was wondering when they ended the dinner. How in the world, where in the world would I put this so that Stefan wouldn't see it? And she did. She dug out some space in their closet and stuff. She couldn't even tell Audrey about these mysterious dinners. She did eventually, well, in the beginning, she did tell Stefan, there's someone new in town. He's only going to be here for a short time, and my agency is trying to land a gig with them or whatever. So it sounded right, so he wasn't alarmed. But when he gave her that bracelet, she was like, oh, no, but she didn't want to give it up either. She knew she shouldn't have accepted it. So one time she went over to Audrey's, and she would always slip and put the bracelet on when she knew she was in the car by herself, and, she would be gone long enough for her to remember to put the bracelet up before she went back in the house with Stefan. But she forgot to take the bracelet off when she got to Audrey and Joel's house. And when you know it, Audrey peeked it. And she's like, hey, hold up, Zuri, wait. What is that I see on your wrist? And Zuri was like, she was caught on the spot. She hadn't had time to try to construct a lie. And Audrey let her know, this is not, I just cannot condone this type of behavior. Now, you love Stefan, and we all know he loves you. So I can't tell you what to do, but I wish you had to let logic enter the picture before you accepted it. Now, Audrey never did tell Stefan about the bracelet. She was like, well, the only way I will is if he asks me about it some kind of way, because I don't like those type secrets. And so, okay, when they left the dinner, something else happened to Lori's car. And when she went to call Julian to come to her rescue yet again, she gets a disconnected notice. She looked, checked the number, the name, same thing. So that happened like 3 times in a row. Somehow the car eventually started, so she went home. She told Stefan that the car had broken down and she just had to let it cool off. Or whatever. He's like, well, why didn't you call me? She's like, oh, I was in a safe area. I just didn't want to disturb you. All right. So after Julian disappears, the same thing happened again. She's at Starbucks and she noticed this man, and he seems to be looking at her as well. Well, finally, he got up enough nerve to go approach Zuri So here they go, the same thing. I won't be in town long. I'm only here to see about a bid on a contract and blah, blah, blah. And all of these dinners. I don't think they never went to one past 8 o'clock. But, so he wines her and dines her and just everything she always thought she wanted, he was providing. When their relationship ended, because on his last night they went to dinner before he was to leave to go back wherever he was from, he gave Lori a pair of earrings. I can't remember the carat number. I think it's like 1.5 carat or whatever. It was way over anything Lori and Stefan would have ever been able to buy. So now she's got to have this gift. And this time she remembers not to wear the earrings in Audra's presence. So they go on, one guy. Eventually she finds herself in the jam. She calls Alexander. Now it's a disconnection. She tried 2 more times. Oh, well, because they had promised her that both Julian and Alexander were like, well, if we land the bids, we will definitely work your way. You say you have a degree in interior design. I would love for you to decorate this building. But we first got to see if we got the job or whatever. I'm like, what are the odds of 2 different people approaching you with the same stuff and you don't seem to put 1 and 1 together? Okay, so this goes on. Now this time, when Alexander disappeared, Miss Viv calls Lori to her home. And she said, I still don't have a child for you to mentor, but I was just trying to see how things were going with you and on your job, and how's your dad? Because Lori had told her that her dad, had a stroke. And so she was just making small talk, and she told Miss Viv that these men, had given her stuff. And Miss Viv, you would think somebody that age would discourage that. But she was like, no, that's exactly what you want. Didn't you say you always wanted to find your things in life? And that's why you worked yourself so hard, hoping to achieve that goal. If they gave it to you, and I have no doubt that they did, no, do not give it away. Don't give it back to them or whatever. So she goes and has it in there with the bracelet. They go on. She was like, well, Miss Field, I know you say you have an agency trying to pair young adult people with children and stuff, but is that really so profitable that you could hire just however many people? Blah, blah, blah. So Miss Viv dug her stuff out of that one. Okay. One time Lori went to see her dad, and he had his men friend over. They were watching a game, playing dominoes, talking trash, and Zuri popped up. The dad didn't like for her to do that, but he didn't object that particular time. So they're all in there just enjoying each other's company. And without any reason, anybody could find, why is it that Miss Viv just so happens to show up at Zuri's dad's house? She claimed that she came to talk to Zuri, thought she might have someone else that she can, pair this child with. But all of the men in there, for a minute or two, they were like, who is this lady? Who is this woman? And then all of a sudden it seemed to hit them all at one time. Oh, yeah, now that's a live piece of work. Oh, no, this lady, no, you better watch her, Zuri. I don't know, you better leave her for it is. But when she asked why, they would just say, just trust me on this, leave her alone. So that wasn't satisfactory to Lori, so she continued the friendship because she just knows at any given time she's going to be able to start doing what she always wanted, which was to be financially upwardly mobile and be able to take a vacation here and there. All right, so they go on. Now, when her dad had the stroke, when Miss Bibb found out about it, she was like, "How if let me offer my services. Let me send one of my girls over there to take care of your father. You don't need to be bogged down. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want you having to stop work just to see about him, blah, blah, blah." And she did tell Miss Bibb, "No, I'd rather not have anybody come in, especially when I'm not there." Well, another day she had gone to her dad's and they were just talking. All of a sudden, the doorbell rings. They go to the door. It was this attractive, pretty young lady, about Lori's age. But she said that she was there to do a job, a home health care job. And she was like, "Wait a minute. I didn't put in an application for your services." "Oh, no, that's okay. Miss Bibb, I'm one of Miss Bibb's girls." And she was still kind of leery, but she did eventually let the lady work there for a little bit. Okay, that goes on. Finally, y'all, I don't remember the name of the last man, but he did the exact same thing. He approached her, he wined and dined her. He eventually said, he would be leaving. And on the last night that they were together at a dinner date, I think he gave her, he said he noticed her eyeing because they were, when she left the store, what's the name of that place? Starbucks. She would go on into the Buckhead Mall. And this guy noticed her just eyeballing some hobo bag, but it was worth like several $1,000s. And so when he approached her, he was like, I believe you're a hard-working young lady. You deserve this, that, and the other. She was like, "Oh, yeah, I do have a job. I may not be able to get anything out of here today, but I will one day." So eventually, when they went their separate ways, what does he do? He gives her the same hobo bag that she had been constantly, almost coveting this bag. He was like, she said, "How did you know I'd always wanted this?" He said, "Well, the day I met you, I saw you staring at it. And and you deserve it. I know you a little bit better now." Now, I'm not exactly sure. I do not believe she slept with either one of these men. And I hope not. I just don't think she did. But they left. They went on. This third man went out. So eventually she's back at Miss Bibb's house, and it's starting to dawn on Lori. Wait a minute. Miss Bibb seems to know more about these men than I ever gave her credit for. She just said she owned several agencies. So eventually Lori found out that Miss Bibb was, I wouldn't say that she was a madam, but she was like on the high-end escorting services. That's how she was able to build the life she wanted for herself. And she would tell the younger people when they would ooh and ah and ogle about what she had. She was like, "You can do it too. You can do it too." Yes, it's fine, because when Lori met her for the first time in her home, Zuri asked her if she had graduated college, and she said, "Oh, no, I didn't graduate, but I did enroll, but I wasn't there too long." And so now Zuri is like, okay, so this is why she can afford to do all of this, but she's like, in essence, what Zuri learned is that Miss Viv was attracting these young women like Zuri to put them out there like on the escorting track. That's how, and Zuri was sick to her stomach. She did say something about, well, all you had to do was be up front and then let me decide if this was something I wanted to do. She was like, oh, no, you had to be groomed. And she said, there's no way I ever would have ever gone with either one of those men. And she was like, well, to Zuri, well, did you do anything that you didn't want to do? You do know you deserve whatever it is that they gave you, the bracelet, the earrings, and now the hobo bag. So Zuri's just sick. So she was out with that last one right before he left. She was out having dinner with him. Oh, yeah. Julian took her to see Michelle Obama. She was wherever they lived in Georgia. And Julian took her, well, you know the press was there because it was Michelle Obama. People were taking pictures, and Julian and Zuri just walking the red carpet like, you know, they were a couple. How it took them so long, the other people, to find out what that man was or who Miss Viv was, I don't know. So when the last man goes away, she did have something to come up in the office that caused her to be late coming home. So she called and told Stefan. He, as always, was patient and understanding. Well, all of a sudden, they lived right down the walkway, 2 or 3 apartments over from this pair of sisters. They were like 15 and 19. And, you know, Zuri and Stefan were in their mid to late 20s or early 30s. But they used to always, every time they saw Stefan, whether he was with or without Zuri, they just act like he was the bee's knees. This just goes on and on. Well, when she did have that happen in the office late one night, when she called to tell him what was going on, she heard those girls in the background. And she was like, who is that? He said. And then she was like, well, why are they at our house? Or are you at theirs? Either way it goes. Why are y'all in the same? He said, I don't have nothing going on. I think they want me to see something. So they get off the phone. Next thing she knows, when she did get home later that night, he was sitting in the living room in the dark. When she went to turn the light on, she was like, why are you sitting in here in the dark? And he looked down at the floor. So she did too. He had found her all of that stuff that these men had given her while they were supposedly working out some sort of business deals. He's like, I cannot believe you did this. And this goes on and on. He was crazy about her dad, and she knew this. And he always tried to be an upstanding man in her dad's eyes as well as his own. So when she saw all that stuff on the floor, she was like, I can explain. No, you can't. No, you cannot. And, you know, the only thing that would make me leave a person is to find out that they just, not so much that you lied, but you consistently lied. And things just getting more and more. Oh, she cried, she begged, he left that night, told her he'd come back and get the rest of her things. Well, eventually, word gets back to Audra, and Zuri's dad. So flash forward all this time later. Her dad, what was that man's name? I can't remember her dad's name. I guess not, because I know they used to call him Maxwell. But Maxwell and Audra and Joseph, as much as he could be, they tried to console her. But they told her also that I cannot believe you didn't give any thought to being found out. Because when that girl saw all of the jewelry on the floor, she looked around because he was rattling some paper. How about the girls that was flagging him down just earlier that night? They gave him some pictures of when Julian and she went to see Michelle Obama. They just all on the red carpet and doing this, looking like they were in love or whatever. That just tore that man up. And that is pretty much, she ends up, I can't remember what happened, why she ended up leaving the ad agency, but she does. Now, she's working in one of those same restaurants, but it's not as high-end as the ones those three men kept whining and dining her to. And it's a significant drop in the money that she was bringing home. One night, Stefan shows up with this lady. And she didn't shy away. She went up and spoke. He introduced her to his lady friend. And then the girl, I think her name was Stacy, she got ready. She told him she had to go use the bathroom. And when she came out, they'd be ready to go. She was gone long enough for Stefan and Zuri to talk a little bit. He told her he forgave her and that she deserves, it hurt me, but you do deserve everything good that God has coming for you. And he was like, how's dad? She was like, oh, he's pretty good. See, now she had to move back home with her dad because she couldn't afford that apartment by herself. And she stopped, once she found out that those girls that she was taking care of were through Miss Viv, she just fired them outright, put them in that. She does have another aide who's there at night while she works. So, in a nutshell, Zuri has had to learn how to make lemonade from the lemons she was left holding when she caused herself to lose everything she ever had in Stefan. What's his name? Stefan. She ended up having, and she wouldn't tell Stefan, but the only way she was able to keep her dad in his own house was for her to sell all of the things she received from these high-end fashion stores. But she did. I hope, eventually, what I like about the book the most is that it doesn't have the happy, all is well ending. Her dad didn't turn his back on her, but he always made sure to let her know that, at the end of the day, you are where you are because of your actions. And so did the best friend. So that wraps this video up. Book Connectors, I want to wish you all a happy Mother's Day once again. And please, I had said I wasn't going to ask of you anymore, but I guess I will. I must be feeling a little generous. But please, subscribers, thank you so much for being subscribed. Visitors, thank you so much for even visiting the channel. You can feel free to join if you like. And don't forget to like, share, comment respectfully. And by all means, please make sure you have your notification bells not only turned on, but make sure they're set to all, so you'll know every time I upload a video. And in the meantime, book connectors, remember this. As long as there are books around, there is always something to read. And until we read again, book connectors, be safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your Mother's Day weekend. And God bless.